All right, so yes, indeed, there you see Mr. Ogbonna joins us here in the studios this morning. He is an investment, promotion, and economic development expert. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
All right, thanks for having me.
You know, after all of those rituals, for budget presentation, Mr. Rewane was quick to bring us back down to earth, just pointing out some stark realities which stares us all in the face. And I think we might just go ahead and listen to him where he was talking about basics. So if these don't address the basics, then it's as good as high-sounding or highfalutin words or scenario for those people who require those basic things to be done. So here is what he said about it.
The budget deficit last year was over 6% of GDP. You're bringing it down to 4% of GDP. I think that is remarkable. You must give credit. In any case, the budget was crafted by Mr. Budget himself. Ben Akagweze has been on it, so we don't get better than that. So in terms of its crafting, in terms of its direction, in terms of the goals, I think there's no doubt about the fact that a good job was done, right? But
so if subsidy was still there...
Oh, then you would have been at 7%, if not 8% of GDP.
Of GDP.
Yeah, but the comfort zone for regional integration in most parts of the world is 3% of GDP, right? So you've gone from 6% of GDP to 4%. Moving directionally, you're okay, but the target is to make it go that way. If you didn't have this, when you say subsidies, first of all, subsidies have not gone. Subsidies have been reduced. But the subsidies are not just in PMS and petrol, but they're also in the exchange rate. So you've taken part of that and taken part of this, and then you begin to do other things.
Well, he eventually went on and actually said that, look, if the prices of bread and rice, basic and many things, are not impacted by all of these budgetary scenarios that we do, we're wasting our time. So basically, tell us, how do we humanize this budget?
I think the first step is presenting the budget after planning and all of that. Then now begins to translate into Naira and Kobo by way of implementation. Now, is it going to work immediately or, translate to prices of goods coming down? Of course it won't. But is it going to are we going to go on that path of growth and development? Of course we are. But whether we like it or not, the mistakes of the past will always face you as soon as you come to the present day. So the reality is there. So what we need to interrogate further is, what are the economic plans? What are the strategies that this government intends to use to now begin to drive prices down and then begin to, push back on inflation? So those are the things I'm looking at. And then if you're injecting more funds into the economy, of course it will jumpstart a lot of transactions. But as far as I'm concerned, there has to be that strategic plan on how to get the economy back on stream.
But year on year, this process is required and it's usually done. But we've also seen, even more so, I stand corrected, this time, the exodus of a lot of young professionals who are seeking greener pastures elsewhere because they think that their skills will be better appreciated in another clime. So would it be a fair assessment for people to say, look, that's just a test, the result right there, of whether or not our budgets over the years have had an impact on society or on people?
Now, leadership generally need to have this understanding that the world will not stand at the port waiting for Nigeria. So we need to move fast. The young people, whether we like it or not, not just the young people, a lot of people just feel, if I'm well appreciated, not just tolerated, I'll definitely go to where I'm being appreciated. Then again, the FX, the FX issue, the Naira depreciation, I will earn better when I'm out there. But that does not change. It doesn't change the reality. But all it does is it sends the signal to everyone who's at the helm of affair. your value proposition you need to look inwards and see, what am I bringing to the table into governance? What am I bringing? Because if what you're bringing cannot change the basic things of life as far as this nation is concerned, we're not going anywhere.
But as an investment person, looking at our business environment and the way policies are framed and implemented here, do you get that sense that we are aware that, look, it's a global village, not even far beyond Africa, looking amongst ourselves in Africa, saying, look, if we don't do the right things and create that environment here, businesses could shift to other parts of Africa. I mean, look at Angola, what investors prefer to do with Angola than Nigeria because of the oil and gas sector. So do you see that being portrayed by us here?
Generally speaking, as soon as this government came, the first thing, when you see the government, the first moves they make, like my people will say, the first step a dancer takes will tell you whether the person is a good dancer or not. Yes, the president he's actually driving the investment. He's actually leading the investment drive, which is very good. Because, I mean, I've seen him have meetings, like in India, he was having meetings with ministers, which is sometimes not, protocol-wise, he's supposed to be talking just to the president. But he's now coming down to talk to the investors himself. Because these things are needed, whether we like it or not, because a lot has gone wrong. We have so much. Okay, what are the driving forces for investment? You have to look at, the market is there. You have to look at, do we have the enabling environment that we talk about all the time? Because that's the constant thing, efficiency in your system. If, for example, anybody that wants to do one business or the other, they have these bottlenecks that they meet at the end of the day. Investors have a culture. Yeah. They don't like to walk into deep holes where they don't see light at the end of the tunnel. Because these funds we're talking about, they can deploy these funds in other parts of the world and get the same profit. They only think profit. They're not even thinking about giving employment to your people. So the narrative, what we are pushing out there is very crucial. And I like the fact the president is, so every other person must push to make sure that we begin to drive and woo investors into our country, because that will also change, help our FX, because if you have more dollar into your economy, of course it will help, stabilize your currency.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what the president went to just a few weeks ago, was it just last week, where he said, look, you can bring in your money and take it out. I mean, we have removed the bottlenecks that prevents you from taking out your money.
So it's in Saudi as well. Saudi, Germany.
Germany. It was Germany that he said that. And it'll be very interesting to see how that eventually, whether that attracts investors and that there will be no bottlenecks in terms of them being able to take out their funds. But as somebody who's looking at this budget, and the budget has been tagged that should renew hope, budget of renewed hope. Are there any aspects that has ignited your optimism in what 2024 holds, economically speaking?
Now, if you look at education, because, I mean, if you don't have a well-informed citizenry, it becomes very difficult, whether you like it or not, because leadership emanates from the citizenry. So, I mean, the kind of money that, is being voted to education, I mean, I'm very impressed. And again, that structure of, having this student loan thing work in Nigeria, for me, is fantastic, because a lot of people want to be educated, they need to be educated, but I mean, they don't have the means. So if this kind of structure is made to work in our economy, it's going to help a whole lot. See, everything you see in countries like India, for example, you see there is this health tourism going to India. It's not because people just woke up and then India just appeared. There were strategies used. There were structures put in place. There's even a corporation designed to, skill people in different fields, and then that skill that they've been giving to people in India, that's what you're seeing today. Because, I mean, there'll be no lack of people like there's a mass exodus from India also. But you see, it doesn't change the fact that if you look at our population, you train more people. As people move, there's no vacuum. Because as soon as you do, see, they go as far as the organization I'm talking about, they go as far as even checking the dexterity of individuals from young age. You pick them up. So we don't have things like ITF in Nigeria, and you can't even trace exactly what they have done in the past 5 years or 10 years. So these are the things we need to, they need to pay attention. The government needs to pay attention to such and such organizations where you need to develop people's skills. So for me, that's a good step in the right direction. And then You look at the agricultural sector. I mean, a lot is going to happen there. The activities. So it still boils down to how much education, both formal and informal education, that we have. I mean, so for me, it's very key. I mean, I was very.
So while we're looking at the amount of monies that have been, earmarked for certain areas of government, especially in the social services, the president is talking about how they want to reduce the poverty rate. They want to fight insecurity. Of course, that will also have impact on agriculture, and also, tackle unemployment, as well as a lot of other social impact areas. I'm wondering whether he also mentioned, I think it's very important to emphasize, the fact that they intend to get value for money. I think that the coordinating minister of the economy, also underlined that when they spoke about the breakdown of the budget, that they do not intend to fund this from debt or borrowings. What they intend to do is ensure that they're able to ramp up revenue and focus on getting value for money. Each naira that is spent, they must be able to get the maximum value for that naira. Do you think that we have, given our culture of waste over the years, do you think that we have a mechanism in place to be able to ensure that indeed, whatever it is we spend, we get value for money?
No, it's not rocket science. Evaluation, project monitoring, management, and evaluation is not rocket science. So we already have institutions that are saddled with the responsibility to carry out, project monitoring and evaluation.
Which institutions are these?
National Assembly, that's part of their job. Oversight function, that's part of the job. That's project monitoring, anyhow you want to look at it.
Yeah, but the executive doesn't have powers over the National Assembly.
No, they have powers over, there's just to, put the checks and balances. Mm-hmm. And then again, the Ministry of Budget and Planning, they also have that job to make sure that that we see the deliverables, matching it with the budget that they have set up, for each MDA. So those structures are there. It's just being able to, make sure that the effectiveness of some of these organizations, we push and make sure that they give us results. I like the fact that, the coordinating minister he's well experienced, so he should understand that even the Ministry of Finance, they have an efficiency unit. So that is part of what they do. So it's just to make sure that everybody, starts to do what they're supposed to do and what they're paid to do.
Let's go to Lagos. Okay. How you doing?
First of all, I'm interested in us taking a closer look at, what has been budgeted for, or what the administration is interested in looking at and securing loan, which they say will cover critical infrastructure. And from the last check, from the budget, the debt management office, our debt is as high as 87 trillion naira. How wise is this decision to embark on this loan, given the fact that even the administration had promised that, they won't embark on excessive borrowing in the future? And should we begin to also ask questions about, this critical infrastructure and, which areas will those infrastructure lie?
Let's see. First, there's no way you won't borrow as it stands right now, because if you have need for funding, like even big businesses all over the world, they all borrow. So, but my issue is your ability to repay those loans. If you use the loans for those critical infrastructure, we're still talking about roads in Nigeria, for God's sake. We're still talking about railways. So let me give you a very simple example. There is no way you will have a functional solid mineral sector without proper railways. It's not possible, because you can't even, some of these metals, they're so heavy that you can't ply them on the roads. So you need railways. So these are part of the things that if we're going to borrow to put into the railway sector or the seaport to have infrastructure to take goods out, because you need to earn foreign exchange. So if you have those critical infrastructure done, our roads to the factory, for the farmland. So these are critical things that we must, if we need to borrow money. But like the minister and the president have said, we value for money. So it's not just spending money. That efficiency, that prudence as far as budget delivery is concerned, we must pay strong attention to it.
But still, talk to us about the viability, the ability to pay back these loans. We're adding to the already humongous debt burden.
Of course, you see, if you see governance as business, the reality is you can generate funds. For example, let me go back to the issue of solid minerals. If we have an efficient system as regards solid minerals, you can earn money. You can rent from solid minerals. Can actually, you can now begin to apply those kind of funds into repayment of those loans. You can look at the agri sector. We've not gone anywhere. We are still at that basic, feeding each other with agriculture. We are Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava globally. Thailand is the second largest producer of cassava. Thailand makes over $2 billion from cassava, and Nigeria makes about less than $200 million from cassava. What does that tell you? There's something that they are doing we're not doing. And we have the capacity and the ability to do such things. So in reality, if we pay attention, bring in the right people and put them in the right positions, you will see we can propel the economy to raise the kind of resources that we need to repay those loans. Nigeria, we have, everybody says potential. Our ability to move those potential into reality is what gives us the enablement to repay those loans.
Well, I'll again say for the average Nigerian, they didn't, personally incur those loans. So they might not be able to relate with paying back loans. Maybe they have their personal loans that they're paying back, but the aggregate loans is quite difficult for them to understand. What they understand right now, and that's where the conversation started from, is how this will impact on their everyday life. The prices of, we're in December, right? Christmas is around the corner. So what a lot of people will be focusing on now is how to buy that bag of rice. If you can't afford the bag of rice, at least maybe half of it or a quarter of it, how to buy chicken for Christmas. I know families who bought it like 4 months ago, they bought little chicks so that they can feed the chicks with the leftovers. So the chicks will be full-grown chicken now. That's their decision. But for a lot of people, it is survival right now. Maybe we're looking too far ahead for the 2024 budget, which, by the way, would start off early next year. Maybe the capital component might even take longer to kick in. There's still a 2023 budget in place, which might be able to impact on December. So we can have maybe not a dirty December, as I say, a clean and well-fed December. How should the government approach at least this December such that prices don't go as high as we project them to go with the inflation, such that people can at least still survive? Is there something to do within the 2023 budget, which is still in operation? We can talk about 2024 later, but first, 2023 for December.
The government needs to inject liquidity into the system, but there's not so much that the 2023 budget will do. Of course, the budget was inherited, and then the supplementary budget came, and then the supplementary budget, has targeted areas, and then we expect a stimulation from those expenditure, and then put it in when those monies are put into the system, and then again the humanitarian structure, the social. From the social end, from the Ministry of Humanitarian, supporting the very poor people. But the reality is, we need to get the country running so that some our people will begin to feel the impact of what the government is doing. But I think the expectation should be more on next year's budget, which is an end-to-end from this present administration, not an inherited budget. So the much we expect might not happen.
It's not a good note, but I guess we have to keep tabs on that to ensure that certain things and the variables, they are really, really addressed. So if you said they're going to plug the loopholes, they intend to get value for money, well, we want to see their actions by what they do, not just what they say. So that it will be a major one that will keep our tabs on. But I want to thank you for coming on. Gbona Ikuku is an economic and business development expert. We will be back in a moment. Don't go away.